Hey everybody, welcome to Spread the Light. Today we're going to look at the law of success. And this is actually the last law we're going to look at in this series. The series is going to continue, but we're going to be on to new themes next week, which I'm really excited to share with you. So welcome once again to Spread the Light. This week we're going to look at the law of success. But before we look at the law of success, we're going to go ahead and review the laws that we've been looking at during this series. What we've studied so far. So basically the grandmother of all laws is the law of vibration, and it's the foundation of all the other laws, you could say. So the law of vibration is simply that everything vibrates. There is not a single thing in existence that doesn't have a vibration, and everything comes from that. The first law that we looked at was the law of thinking. That's the law that everything is created twice. Something must first be created in thought before it can ever come into materiality. And so our thoughts have power, and it behooves us to pay attention to what we're paying attention to. The second law we looked at was the law of supply. This is the idea that we live in an abundant universe. And when I say this is the idea of that, I don't mean that it's just an idea. It is a truth. It is a law, a spiritual law that we live in an abundant universe. And nothing can change that, even though we may look upon appearances that seem to be contrary to the law of supply. We can still make agreement with the law, and it's better for us if we do. Make agreement with abundance, only with abundance, and never to make agreement with lack, understanding that lack is simply an appearance, and what's going on there is consciousness. So lack of consciousness about the fact that we live in an abundant universe can cause us to make agreement with lack, and to therefore experience lack in our environment and in our life based on the law of thinking and the law of vibration. The next law we looked at was the law of attraction, right? It makes sense that what we attract is because we are focusing on it. So we attract what we are focusing on, what we are paying attention to, what we are getting interested in and curious about. What we spend our time thinking about is what we attract. The law of attraction is activated by desire, by a burning desire. And when you couple that with a grateful expectation, the law of attraction has even more power to attract what you're focused on. We talked about the law of receiving, about the fact that the law of receiving is activated by giving. And that you can't get, for example, heat from a wood stove if you don't put some firewood in it to generate that heat, right? So you can't reap a harvest unless you plant some seeds. And the law of receiving is activated by the fact that you are giving systematically and regularly, right? And expectantly. And also, it's very helpful to give in the areas where you would most like to receive, or where you're feeling the most lack is where you lean into and give in that area to set the law of receiving in motion. We talked about the law of increase, this idea that what we praise increases. So again, it's about focus. What we are putting our attention on is what we are raising, amplifying with our focus. The universe, because it's infinite abundance, always amplifies what we spend our time and energy focusing on. So if you want to increase something in your life, praise it, right? That's why we focus on our blessings and focus on the things that we appreciate in life. And gratitude practice is based on this law of increase, or we could call it the law of praise. And so as we become a person of increase, particularly in the areas where we're feeling lack, once again, we will experience increase. All these laws work together, you see. I mean, there really aren't just a bunch of different laws. The law is one, but we can parse it out to better enable us to understand things from the intellectual point of view. We talked about the law of non-resistance, so focusing on what we do want rather than resisting conditions that we would not prefer, right? Sometimes you want to win an argument, but you can actually cause yourself problems that way. You know, if you decide that you're going to not resist and refuse to argue, it costs you nothing, actually. The ego that wants to win, it's the ego that wants to say, I'm right, and we actually lose when we do that. If we are in alignment with truth, truth doesn't need us to stand up for it. Truth is always true. So do yourself a favor by refusing to argue. Give up resistance. to being wrong, resistance to having somebody take up more space than you. That's just an illusion. We don't have to do that. It's sort of like Aikido, right? The art of Aikido, which is taking the energy that's coming towards you and using it to your advantage while you keep your eye on the prize. You use what appears to be an obstacle or resistance coming towards you to actually propel you towards your goal. We talked about the law of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a shift in perception that removes a block that is within me to my awareness of the presence of love everywhere. And if I have unforgiveness in me, it's a block in my own energy. It doesn't do anything to anybody else to not forgive them. The only person that affects is me. So again, it behooves us, as we're learning throughout this series, is that it behooves us to align with universal law, because when we do, life gets easier, our possibilities open up, and we experience more creativity, more flow, more life. Along with the law of forgiveness, we looked at this idea that that every act, even acts that are unskillful or seem like they should be worthy of judgment, are either an expression of love or a call for love, regardless of how unskillful they may seem. This is the beginning of compassion. And if we can open ourselves up to allow that much space within ourselves, then we open up to more life. We open up to possibility instead of shutting things down in restriction because of our lack of forgiveness and our lack of compassion. Whew. Sometimes that can be a real challenge, especially at times like this. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. So let's talk about the law of sacrifice. The law of sacrifice is about sacrificing the lesser to gain the greater. Giving up something of a lower nature to gain something of a higher nature. Would that we could all do that. What a world we would experience if that were possible. And it is possible. We have this all within us. We just have to become more aware of it and let it become our new normal. So the practice of discipline is an expression of the law of sacrifice. So once again, giving up something of a lesser nature to gain something of a higher order, of a higher nature, of a higher vibration. We're all capable of it. Then finally, we looked at the law of obedience, which is simply that, as I was saying a few minutes ago, when we get in harmony with the laws of the universe, actually life gets easier. Life becomes more harmonious. And we begin to walk the path of grace. So today we're going to talk about the law of success. This is the last of these laws that we're going to look at during this series, although we will continue with something new next week, which I'm excited to share with you. So the law of success. First of all, let's define what we mean by success. There are a lot of external definitions of success. Like what does it mean to be successful in your cultural upbringing, in your family culture, the way that you were raised, there might have been a certain definition of success. If you grew up in a family of lawyers, maybe being a lawyer yourself and, or starting your own firm or something like that would be defined as success in your family culture. There are lots of other ways that people define success. There are certain ways that society defines success. But really, the way that I define success is the degree to which you feel completely fulfilled and that you are actualizing your divine potential. To me, that's what success is. And the law of success says that success is actually the universe's intention for us. It is the universe's intention for us to be successful. Success is actually our nature. We are the divine success, just by the fact of being human. Now, we have to qualify our humanity and earn the right to be truly human, fully human. But the human form is the divine success because it's a form where we can experience the infinite within the finite. It's a form within which we can be conscious of our mortality, conscious of our consciousness. We have free will, and so the human form is already the divine success, the vehicle the vessel through which we can experience infinite consciousness within a finite form. That in itself is miraculous. So success is our nature, and it's within each one of us. We just need to learn how to develop it. That's it. So we're going to look at 7 steps to creating success today. The first one is about knowing that the universe is on your side, knowing that all of creation is on your side and will supply everything you need to be successful. In other words, to develop and activate the full range of your divine potential. All of the gifts that you were born with, everything that you love and that makes you feel more alive, are the areas in which you are destined to be successful. The universe wants your success and will supply everything you need when you align with that. Second thing is to lean fully into success, not to hold back. So we'll talk about what that means. Having the desire to succeed would be the third step in that. And then the fourth step would be developing the attitude of I can and the power of that attitude and what it means because of the law of thinking. Fifth step, making a clear mental picture, having a clear mental picture of what our success feels like and what the expression of that would be. Step 6 is to be decisive. We'll talk about that. And then finally, step 7 is using our time wisely, right? So let's look at these things and break them down. So success is the intention that the universe holds for us by our very nature. It is the intention of spirit, of God, of the universe, of life, whatever you want to call the power that's breathing you. It is the intention of that power that we should be successful. Now, depending on how you personally define success, that may represent a divergence from universal law. If you have a vested interest in, showing somebody else that you're going to be more successful than they are, and your success is your drive is coming from your ego initially, you may get course corrected by a loving, benevolent universe who knows that your greater fulfillment is actually in a different area, or in a higher area, a higher octave of your current gifts. But whichever way it goes, the intention of the universe for you is that you experience success and that you flourish, that you prosper, and that you progress. So you can put your faith in that. There's nothing out there that's against you, and there's nothing out there that could ever be against you. Sometimes we meet resistance on the way to develop our spiritual muscle or to redirect us towards something higher that we can't actually see yet, because we don't see the whole picture. As it says in the Bible, we see through a glass darkly, right? We can't see the whole thing. But the loving universe can see the whole thing, and it wants our success. That is its intention for us, because it is our very nature as the divine success to align with that sooner or later. Yes, success is our nature. So what does that mean? Well, all of the processes of nature are successful. All of the processes of nature are successful. Nature knows no failure. She never plans for anything but success. So if you look at the natural world, you will see glorious examples of success in every different possible form. So trust that you are no different. We are no different. It is our nature to unfold, to flourish, to prosper. And sometimes we just need a little bit of help aligning with the laws of the universe so that we don't get in our own way. Success is within each of us. We just need to learn how to develop it. And great things are no less possible than little things. The process by which we create as divine beings is the same, whether we want to create something small or whether we want to create something that seems large, right? And it seems large because we make ourselves small in comparison to it. But it doesn't matter to the universe. It's all one. Whether you want to create something that seems easy to you, or whether you want to create something that seems bigger than you can imagine, the process of creation is the same. It's just a question of building a bigger believing for yourself. So success is within each one of us, and we just need to learn how to develop it. It's a skill and a certain way of thinking and perceiving the universe, and it builds our capacity, or builds our ability to fulfill that capacity that we naturally have to be successful. So knowing that the infinite is on our side and will supply everything that we need is the first step. Just to rest in that and to have faith in that. The second step is to lean fully into success. In other words, don't hold back. That's like if you were on horseback and you were going to jump a barrier. Right when the horse gets up to the barrier, it accelerates because it knows that it has something to leap and it's going to go forward. If you as the rider get scared at that moment and you pull back on the reins, you're going to disrupt the rhythm of the horse, disrupt the flow of the energy that's moving forward, right? So just sometimes where we feel like, we want to contract and pull back because we get scared is actually the moment where we need to let go and move forward, allow that energy to jump, to make a leap. And it's usually at that moment of decision or at that moment of stepping into a greater version of ourselves that we do feel fear, and the paradigms of limitation that we've been living with up until now make their appearance and say, ooh, I don't know, are you sure that's such a good idea? They want to hold us back. That's the moment where we should just let it all go and make that leap of faith. So that's the second step. The third step is to have the desire to succeed. It's okay to have a desire to succeed. I encounter a lot of people who feel like they should hide that desire, that somehow it's immodest or something to have a desire to succeed or to share that desire. But if you just look at the word desire itself, it's very telling. Desire comes from the Latin or the Italian desire. If you break that down, it means of the Father. In other words, of God. From a masculine model, right, where that entity was considered a masculine power, but of course it isn't. It's beyond masculine, beyond feminine. But that old word comes from that period, and it means of the Father. It comes from God. It comes from the power, the source that created us. Desire, from the power, from the source. That's what the word desire means. It's given to us by the source. It is part of what allows us to grow and pushes us to expand, pushes us to become more. It is divine. So you must have a desire to succeed, to fulfill your own divine potential, whatever that looks like for you. And who cares what it looks like to somebody else? That's not their life. It's your life. So it's healthy to have a desire to succeed, right? The desire in us for more, for that which is more, comes from, it's the same impulse that makes a plant grow. It is necessary to life, and it is necessary to growth. So if we align with that in its intention for us, then we will align with the power that's breathing us, and we will align with our destiny. We will align with our higher purpose. So never be ashamed of having a desire to succeed, a desire to fulfill your potential. That's what the universe wants for you. And you can't help yourself or anybody else by making yourself small and, hiding your light. Doesn't work. So that's the third step towards being successful. The fourth step is to develop the I can attitude, right? It's more than positive thinking, although yes, a great deal of it is positive thinking, but it's a positive mental attitude towards everything and anything without exception. So that means when the going gets really tough, or when we see things that it looks like it's impossible to be positive about, we can't exempt that thing. We have to dig deep within ourselves to find the positive, to look for what could be a good outcome, what could be something that could give us more life out of something that appears to be the opposite, right? So it goes for big things and for small. But really, sometimes the only difference between someone who is successful, in other words, living a life of fulfillment, living the life of their dreams, and someone who is not successful is that attitude of I can. Now, if you don't believe that you can, if you're connected to the small self, yes, it seems like there are many things that are bigger than our small self. But when I say I can, I'm not talking about I, my limited personality. I'm not talking about I, the ego self. I'm not talking about the mortal self. I'm talking about the I, the divine self that is breathing me and breathing you. That's the I that can. When I say I can do this, the divine in me can do anything. That power is greater than any obstacle. It's greater than any circumstance, any situation, any condition that I'm facing. That is the I that I'm referring to. I can. I can do it. Yes. And you connect with that power. See what I mean? So you think, you live, and you act as if I can. And soon it becomes true for you. You catch the spirit of that I, and you have the key to the successful attitude. So even if the limited self doesn't know how to do something, the infinite self does know. And if I can align with that energy, and that's humility, and say, well, my small self doesn't understand, but I know that, and I acknowledge that there's a power within me that does, and knows the way, that there's a path to any dream of mine, then I'm really living in the I can attitude, living and thinking and breathing and acting as the I that can. What would love do in this instance is a really great question to ask yourself. What would love do? What would love's choice be in this instance if I don't know what to do and if I can't see a way forward? Ask the I. So that's the I can attitude. That is what develops the faculties that are needed to accomplish what once appeared to be impossible to you, to the small self. So we can align with that because it views obstacles as opportunities to grow. And Raymond Hollywell said, obstacles serve as an opportunity to call up our latent powers. There's a reason why we receive obstacles, not, to hinder us, not because we're not meant to be successful, but precisely because we are meant to be successful. Those obstacles call up our latent powers. They call up the I that can within us to go into action and to open our higher mental faculties, that interface between us and divine infinite intelligence, to clear up those pathways so that we can be receiving in inspiration, information, action, inspired action towards what we want to create. The fifth step is to make a clear mental picture of what you want to achieve. Now, we've talked about this with regard to some of the other laws, but this is what vision is holding solid state on your vision, on that which you want to create, which is in alignment with higher purpose, and not getting distracted by anything else. Holding solid state on truth in spite of appearances that may be sometimes to the contrary, right? So that is the kind of rigorous thinking when you make a clear mental picture of what it is you are moving towards and refuse to make agreement with anything that is not in alignment with that picture, not in alignment with that self that you are becoming. Clear mental picture of what you want to achieve plus elevated emotion that is associated with you feeling like that successful person that you are in the moment. When you marry this clarity of intention, the mental picture, with an elevated emotion like gratitude or feeling in love with life, that is a really powerful way to set up your electromagnetic field for the law of attraction to bring you what you want, right? The sixth step is being decisive, learning how to be decisive. So Ben Franklin said, never leave to tomorrow what you can do today, right? Because the worst enemy that we can encounter on the road here is procrastination. Procrastination is just another word for our fears and limitations coming in and causing doubt, and so we feel insecure, we start to doubt ourselves, and we put things off because we don't want to feel that way. So we make up excuses about, well, I just don't have time right now, or maybe this isn't the right time, right? Procrastination kills our forward momentum. The practice of making decisions clearly and promptly based on the feeling of what you would love is one of the most powerful gifts you can give yourself. That if you are clear that is something you would love to do, that this is something, whatever it is that you want to step towards, and you make the decision in that moment that you will do that, and that's the only way you're going to live, without worrying about the how, without consulting your current circumstances to give yourself permission to do something. That's a sure way to stay in a pattern from the past. That's how we repeat the patterns and the programs of our past. If we can be decisive in the moment, we will go toward expansion, because when we are decisive, we are actually cutting from anything that is unlike the future that we're creating for ourselves. We're actually cutting from habits and attitudes of thought and ways of being that are not in alignment with the person that we're becoming, that are not in alignment with the future that we are bringing in, right? So being decisive is part of all of that. It's about deciding and stepping into the unknown, stepping into a new elevated version of yourself, and also deciding, cutting from the past, cutting from old ways of being. And it's not something that we have to belabor or moan about or say that it's hard. It's only hard if we say it's hard. It's only hard if we make it hard. We can cut from anything that doesn't serve us anymore, and that's real power. Finally, the seventh step here is to use your time wisely. Use your time wisely. We've talked about that on a number of these episodes. It's like, how am I choosing to spend my time? We are dealers in time. In this land of time and space in 3 dimensions, we have a limited time, right? And so our success depends upon the use of our time and the byproducts of time, the odd moments, the 10 minutes here, the 15 minutes there that we throw away. Every time I hear the expression now, killing time, I go, ooh, I don't want to kill time anymore. No, I want to use my time. Once that time is gone, it can never be returned. So what are we working towards here? Are we killing time because we don't have, absent a vision for your life, absent that intelligent, energetic template that you are stepping into every day, you will default, I will default to old programming and old conditioning. And that's not what I want for my life. Absent that intelligent template in the form of a vision, and absent the conscious choices and the decisions, right, that I make to serve that vision, it's very easy to default to old ways of being, old ways of doing things, old ways of thinking. And that's just a fact, and we've all been there. We all know what it's like to feel the gravitational pull of the familiar, of the comfort zone. Even when we don't want to be there anymore, it can be very strong. So how are we using our time constructively? It's, when you feel aimless, you feel worthless, you're not creating success. And again, success is the highest fulfillment of your highest potential. The most wonderful ways that you can bring in and actualize that potential and ground it in this 3D reality. That's what success is for you, and you'll know what it feels like for you, because it has a particular feeling for you where you know that you are fulfilled, that you know that you're right, that you're living right, and that you're where you want to be. It's just a feeling, and you know when you're in it. So that's what it is to bring in that success, and part of it is following these 7 steps that we talked about today. And the last one being how we're using our time and being vigilant about how we use our time, because our time is limited, you guys, and we don't know when it's going to be up. This is just the truth. So let's use what we got now. So this is what I would encourage you to do in this coming week, is to chew over some of these laws we've talked about. Consider the 7 steps that we've talked about today to creating the success, knowing that the infinite is on your side and will supply you with everything you need, knowing that it's okay for you to lean in fully to success. Don't hold anything back, especially at the moment where it's time to jump. Having the desire to succeed and not being ashamed of that desire, and encouraging other people to share their desire to succeed in whatever way has meaning for them. Developing the I can attitude, right? And understanding that the I that we're talking about is the infinite self, right? So even if you and your limited self feel like you can't do something, you are never unallied with your ally, which is the capital I, the infinite. The infinite can. Fifth step, making a clear mental picture in the form of a vision statement for your life that you are stepping towards, to give that infinite energy an intelligent template to run itself through. Sixth step, being decisive and just on the spot knowing what is in alignment with that and what isn't. You know, in here, you know, right? If your mind starts getting confused and intellectualizing about it, it's just putting it off, right? The heart knows, the gut knows. Be decisive. Cut away from that which is unlike what you want to create and who you are becoming in the life that you are calling in. And finally, the seventh step, use your time wisely, because we don't know how much we have. So you could choose one of those steps to focus on this week, in the coming week. If you could choose one of those steps to focus on, what would it be? And note how it affects your success, your feeling of being the divine success. And your alignment with the understanding that there is a destiny for you. And there's not one single person on this planet who doesn't have a higher order of destiny. Everyone has gifts, and we all have a higher octave of gifts that could be called our divine gifts. And this is now the time that we're being asked to step into that greater becoming that's part of our human and divine potential. That's what it means to be successful. Is becoming the divine success that you already are in the form that feels best to you on this planet. And that form will naturally serve all other beings. So step into it. Let's all step into it together. Let's not be shy about this anymore. So that's it for covering the universal laws in this form. Next week we will start with something else, which I'm excited to bring to you. Thank you to all of those who have been contacting me about what this series means to them. I really appreciate that. I love to have your comments, and I love to have your hellos and your hearts when you join me on Facebook and Instagram. And so these episodes are being logged in IGTV on Instagram, and they're being saved on my Facebook page here on Facebook, which is Claire Lautier, Life Mastery Consultant. So if you love what you're seeing and if you want more, let me know. And tell me if there's something that you would like me to address, if you have questions. I'm happy to always address questions and relate them to this field of study. And expansion that we're all in, creating an energy field together where we're spreading the light that we are. So I look forward to seeing you next week at the same time and bringing to you a new theme that we're going to explore together. Until then, many blessings. Much love. Bye-bye.